A man grew up near Boston, Massachusetts since 1960 as the oldest of 3 children. In 1979, he graduated from Gloucester High School and then moved to Baltimore to attend the Maryland Institute College of Art, but dropped out and began booking bands for underground clubs. In 1986, he joined the Great Peace March for global nuclear disarmament in protest of nuclear weapons. Clearly, with the Cold War still going on, everyone was worried that someone might be
the destroyer of worlds.
In the next year, he will run his first political campaign in 1987 without income and mainly to give himself a project, something to do. In Baltimore in the rap of the 90s, he was known as
Vermin Supreme.
Vermin Supreme.
Vermin Supreme.
Vermin Supreme.
Hi, I'm Vermin Supreme.
Vermin Supreme.
You've seen this man run for politics, admit it. Wearing a truckload of ties on his neck and a boot on his head. He's Vermin Supreme, considered to be one of the first political memes in recent history. Let's admit, America's fucked with the constant rise with the Christian fascist fundamentalism going around in the United States. One might hope that someone like Vermin Supreme will brighten the day, and is not clearly here to disappoint. Vermin Supreme has run a presidential campaign ever since 1992. In 2004, he received 149 votes for the Washington, D.C. presidential primary. Not really much of an impressive number considering other candidates, but for contrast, 149 people will nearly fill up a movie theater. In 2008, he ran as a Republican in the New Hampshire Republican primary. He only got 41 votes, a minuscule 0.02%, but you understand why he's so unpopular amongst Republicans. You see, nobody can tell what's behind the layers and layers of satire that Vermin Supreme is able to cover himself up with. He's the kind of presidential candidate who will promise a law requiring people to brush their teeth, who will campaign for a platform of zombie apocalypse awareness and a platform for time travel research. Oh, and free ponies.
The only candidate who advocates serious and strict mandatory toothbrushing laws, time travel research, zombie preparedness, and last but not least, free ponies for all Americans.
Free ponies?
Free ponies, yes sir.
You see here that Vermin Supreme isn't your typical political candidate. Aside of being a politician and activist, he's a performance artist masquerading as a completely unhinged political candidate with outlandish, absurd ideas. But you know he aims big. In 2012, he campaigned as a Democrat in the US presidential election supported by the Good Humor Party. What's the Good Humor Party? It's a satirical organization founded in Poland in June 28, 2001 by Polish cartoonist and journalist Szczepan Setuski, which counts with over 3,000 members all around the globe. Its main goal is to make people happy. It's a non-political party and it has its own informal government ambassadors. Maybe it's slobbing in the States too. Doesn't matter because on August 25, 2012, he will announce his new political party, the Free Pony Party, with chosen fellow French opponent Jimmy McMillan as his running mate. McMillan has a party of his own. The rent is too damn high party. Yeah, try to say that in one sentence. At this point, he seemed like he surrounded himself with similarly absurd activists and performance artists very well. And he will run for every presidential campaign ever since. Every 4 years, he's there, and he's got free ponies to spare. Over a year ago, the leftist discourse was somehow already having a sort of renaissance. Yours truly had the opportunity of becoming a left-wing influencer in 2021, but the right-wing and conservative space was even more menacing with the whole COVID-19 dilemma going on in the meantime. A young 28-year-old trans-femme Twitch streamer was peacefully playing video games while Greg Abbott, the Republican governor of Texas, launched a campaign against gender-affirming care for young people. This struck a nerve on the streamer. Her name is Clara, but you know her as Keffals. She started talking openly about her experience as a trans woman in hours-long streams from her Ontario-located apartment, and ever since she became yet another one of the openly left-wing political streamers to start booming on Jeff Bezos' Twitch. She fully abandoned the traditional game stream format to talk about political issues and news, completely disconnected from cable news like the rest of the political online pundits I care. Let me tell you, has CounterPoints or Abigail Thorne ever streamed? Because with over 3,000 subscribers on Twitch, amassing her around $15,000 a month, she's one of the most popular openly trans streamers there. Keffals is a rarity on Twitch, amongst the white cis male-dominated Twitch platform of male gamers like SQC or Asmongold, but she makes a lot of noise regarding the wave of anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ legislation that is sweeping the United States, being one of the few media outlets where viewers can hear the news from a trans person.
They literally want these kids to fucking kill themselves. That's what's going to happen.
But what she's very well known for is for her successful ratios on Twitter. She's even become a ratio queen. Every ratio she tries is successful, and she does this on a majority of right-wing users on Twitter. Obviously, the far-right has constantly barraged her with attacks, calling her a groomer and whatnot, so she's remaining hyper-vigilant and sometimes unable to connect with her audience as directly as she would like. For this reason, she has DMs closed. Even then, she has been leveraging her platform for her fundraising campaigns. Last April, she raised $205,000 for the campaign of Southern Equality's effort to protect trans youth. Money that is going to literally save lives. But one thing is important, like she tends to think civility politics don't tend to work when you're engaging with people who don't even view you as human. Great thinkers have always used some sort of public forum to debate even the most existential of ideas. Like the great Dennis Prager said, I recall asking the late eminent liberal historian Arthur Schlesinger in a public forum in Los Angeles in the late 1970s if he will say that America was, all things considered, a better and, for instance, more moral society than Soviet society. He said he will not. That's horseshit. In fact, you know what's really also horseshit? Civility. What's this? Ancient Greece? There's nothing intellectual in talking about the caveman shit. In fact, we're not in the Stone Age, baby. We're in the post-truth cyber age. Anything goes. In fact, you wanna know what's the best forum for goons like you to shitpost and ramble all the shitposting you want? JMAA.tv/forum. That's right, our forum has reopened. And discussing this very video in the JMAA TV and JMAA Games specific sections is free. But for a one-time fee of $10, you can access the other boards: Doom, Gaming, Politics, even Sports.
What could distract people who love sports? Sports! 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 Sports!
Join up on the new Goon Forum at jma.tv/forum right now. You'll not regret it. Ad over. Vermin announced his plans to run the 2020 Libertarian Party presidential nomination in 2018, and then filed his candidacy with the FEC in June 26, now 2019. This was his first real campaign. He had a real campaign manager and a chief strategist. They had the slogan, "This is the way," in on the joke, "Pony up, America." Such a slogan will become relevant for Vermin Supreme's plan after all. On January 11, 2020, Supreme won a non-binary presidential preference poll, winning 26 out of 44 votes cast. He won the Massachusetts primary on March 3, 2020, but on May 23rd, he placed third in the party's final round of balloting. A lot of people cited that Vermin Supreme's presidential campaign as harmful to the credibility or the image of the Libertarian Party. Supreme was just saying that it was a serious run, and his running mate Spike Cohen, who won as the vice presidential nomination in the Libertarian Party that year, explained that it's the system that's a joke that treats them as a joke, and it treats the idea of having more than two options as a joke. They were definitely trolling the system. It might shock you to know that Vermin Supreme is a loyal follower of the ideas of Peter Kropotkin and the anarcho-communist principles. In an interview with a New Hampshire in 2018, he labeled his political beliefs as social anarchist and mentioned Peter Kropotkin as a great anarchist thinker and writer. Even though no one can see through his layers of satire, I can understand why such a man like Vermin Supreme wants to break the system like that. In times where Democrats and Republicans are nothing but a facade of progress and goodwill for America, and America is nothing more than a nearly collapsing country, just when people realize it was after the COVID pandemic, one must wonder, why isn't there more than just two options in American politics? The system is a joke, and it seems like that, like Vermin Supreme, a lot of people are starting to be in on the joke. We're in on the joke, and fascists and right-wingers are the butt of it. Keffals has been under fire for her own presence online from far-right figures like Ian Miles Cheong and Lives Up TikTok, sending their hordes of fascist foot soldiers to harass her. Luckily for everyone, she's better than them. She's more than willing to debate people like Ian Miles Cheong, who's unsurprisingly cowardly won't dare to get closer to the so-called groomer that he claims she is. To this day, Ian has yet to debate Keffals on her stream. I'm not a big fan of debate bros, but further humiliation of so-called alpha males like Ian Miles Cheong can lead to the interesting result of bringing more people to the left wing if we're lucky about it. Regardless, this is pretty much a fucked world where right-wing figures rise in popularity with little pushback from the mainstream neoliberal forces, despite the fact that the neoliberals won't be spared by fascists. And yet, in this fucked up world, people like Keffals inspire fellow trans, LGBTQIA+, and other marginalized voices to speak up and become political streamers themselves, leading a new generation of people who will trump old times media like cable media. Times are speeding up. The television, the radio, and the newspaper become obsolete in the post-truth era of the internet. Now the discourse is not dependent on the cable media or television, but the media pundits on online streaming services who are nothing more than just average people with average lives. And it better be that the old media doesn't ever catch up and trump the new discourse.